RWWA star has won.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip, featuring Peter O'Neill. This is where we take a look at the WA Greyhound racing scene, keeping a close look at what is happening on and off the track.
Keep an eye on the clock. She is brilliant, Miata. She stops the clock, 36.55, a new track record.
A very good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Greyhound Gossip. Big weekend of greyhound racing. Started off on Friday night down at Mandurah and then on Saturday night at Cannington. And on Saturday night at Cannington, we had the running of the Puppy Classic. David Hobby had 6 of the finalists and he dominated. Racing, Sunset Tyson came out okay, showing early speed was Sunset Frazier working across Sunset Pepe along with Sunset Nightjar, then followed by Apple Crumble, trouble behind the leaders. Bumping there, got the cash along with Sunset Tyson, well back Sneaky Emoji, goes to Emoji's last of all, but Sunset Frazier led off the back, out by 3 lengths Sunset Pepe, then followed by Sunset Nightjar, well back behind them Sunset Tyson, also Apple Crumble as they come to the corner. Sunset Frazier, can he keep going? Sunset Pepe to the outside, Sunset Frazier's lifting though, and Sunset Frazier wins a length. Sunset Pepe, third across the line, Sunset Nightjar, then followed by... Yes, brilliant victory by Sunset Frazier. Broke some splits again this week in the final, and he's a very, very talented greyhound. Went 29.67. To put that into context, Crumble Manelli, who was dominating last year, went on to win the Derby at also the Sandgroper. He ran almost a length quicker than what Crumble Manelli did last year. That was an outstanding field, outstanding training performance by David Hobby, who has a strong hand leading into the Perth Cup Heats and Galaxy. They come up, of course, the Perth Cup Heats on the 9th of March and the Galaxy also on the 9th of March. Nominations closing on Tuesday the 5th of March, so we're only a week away from the nominations coming through. Also on Saturday night we had the running of a big night in Victoria with the Rookie Rebel and Raiders Guide winning for Gary Fay, and then the Fanta Bale Palawa King was unbelievable. Came from last and then made a move to the outside and then decided to come back to the fence, which was the winning move. A very, very talented chaser we hope to see across here in WA with Raymond Smith. And the Australian Cup, the favourite was the Tab Touch slot holder Morton.
Morton only fair to go. Out fast, Launch Code driving through near the rail. Timzu and Scalacci's going to squeeze. And Scalacci takes the lead. The Phoenix champ out by 2 lengths to Launch Code, Timzu. And then My Magic Man, followed by Fernando Phil. Then Mapunga Smokey, a mile back to Alpha Zulu. And the favourite Morton last. Scalacci the leader, led by 3 to Timzu, who's honing in as they turn. Scalacci and Timzu. Scalacci grabbed by Timzu. Oh, he's good. Timzu takes out the Oz Cup by a length and a half. Scalacci.
Yes, brilliant win by Timzu, and he has now gone into the record books as the first ever winner for Jason Thompson in the Australian Cup. He's had many finalists but failed to win the race, and he finally did it there on Saturday night with Timzu. Very, very talented chaser indeed. Unfortunately, Morton missed the start, didn't have any luck at all. Spoke with Jason Sharp earlier on this morning. He said that the greyhound had worked well this morning. He will be taking him to the vet on Wednesday because there's a couple of sore spots that he wants to work over, and then he is expected to be on a plane to Perth on Friday, coming across to trial prior to the Perth Cup Heats the following week. We're lucky enough to have in the studios this morning the Chief of Integrity, Denis Borovica, who has been good enough to join us to talk about some very important aspects of greyhound racing that are filtering through the media and also through the industry at the moment. As I say, good morning to you, Denis. It is an exciting time for WA greyhound racing at the moment with the Perth Cup and Galaxy right on our doorstep.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Peter, and good morning, everybody. We are coming to an exciting time for the greyhound racing industry with some of our feature races, and we're all looking forward to that.
Before we get into some of the topics that I wanted to talk about, 50 years we're celebrating in greyhound racing this year, 1974. I'm not sure if you were at the first meeting, but I know you've been involved in greyhound racing here in Western Australia for a long period of time. When did you first start?
I can't remember the year. I was probably about 18 years old, so I wasn't there at the start. I would have been 2 years old when it started, but I got a job there part-time when I was in high school at about 18 years old, and racing's been very good to me, obviously. I've started from working on the track on the catching gate, and I'm the Chief Racing Integrity Officer now, so I've got a lot to be grateful for from the racing industry.
So you worked in the industry for a while on the track, and what made you decide to become a steward at the Greyhounds, and was that the first time that you went into stewarding?
Yeah, look, my family had no background in racing, so it was just that I lived locally and the track was nearby and I wanted a part-time job. As I say, I worked just did nearly every job that there was to do on the track, from starting the catching gate, whatever. Opportunity came to become a steward to supervise the trials, and sort of one thing led to another, and here I am. Never thought I'd be here my entire working life, but that's how it's played out so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it, for greyhound racing at the moment? It's been in the news of late, and the reason I asked you to come in this morning, you spoke very well last week to the staff at Racing and Wagering Western Australia about some of the untruths that are being spoken in the media at the moment. While we can't stop these untruths, is there a chance for us to actually be able to put the news out there to express what the actual facts and the true facts are?
Yeah, look, we try very hard to do that. We publish a lot of information. We're, being what we are, a statutory body, we're a very transparent organisation. There's no ability for things to be hidden, and we wouldn't want to try and hide them anyway. The facts are out there, but people choose to put a different lens on the same information and draw conclusions from it. We understand, look, it's a very difficult time for the racing industry at the moment. It's not nice when people are protesting the things you do. As I said before, the staff, I'm part of the racing industry so much as we're a regulator of it, and I don't enjoy sitting at home and watching the news at night and watching people bag the things that I do and I've spent my life doing. And I know we do a lot of good things here, but unfortunately sometimes that's overlooked and the camera gets put on the negatives of racing. So it's our job to try and put some perspective to it.
What about some of the untruths? One of them that I've seen in the media recently, and the Mayor of Canning has come out in opposition to greyhound racing. He says that it's not good for the Canning area, which is interesting considering the amount of crime that's in the Canning area in itself. He's not too worried about going to the Minister of Policing in regards to that, but he's quite happy to have a crack at greyhound racing, which brings in a lot of money to that area.
Yeah, look, there's obviously the financial side of the racing industry, but my job as a regulator is to oversee the welfare side of this industry, and I've seen it from when I started to what it is now. It's evolved tremendously over the 30-odd years that I've been involved, and it continues to evolve. When I started, there was no such thing as gap. Injuries weren't tracked, they weren't recorded, any of those sorts of things, and we do all of that now. We rehome all the dogs that can be rehomed. We monitor the injuries very closely. We upgrade tracks. We do a lot of things there because we know the modern world expects standards to always be improving, and they have been improving and they'll continue to improve. Some
of the stats that are being put out at the moment, and we work in an industry that works with stats and figures, some of the stats that are being put out at the moment is stating that Cannington is the most dangerous track in Australia. What are your comments there?
Yeah, it's a funny one, statistics. Everyone looks for the ones that support their argument, and I think they call that confirmation bias, and they ignore all the other facts. Look, the truth of the matter is that we've got some 30-odd thousand starters each year. Of those, and these are real statistics that appear in our annual report, only 2.56% of those total starters have any sort of injury or accident, and 89% of those are the non-serious kinds. So we all understand that when a dog's racing, just like me running down the beach, I'm probably going to pull muscle, strain things. They're minor things. They don't require anything much more than rest. So 89% of them fall into that basket. Then we got 0.27% of those that suffer what we call a serious injury. That's something between 60 to 90 days in stand-down periods of time. So they're serious things, and no one likes seeing those, and we don't want to see those happen. But we are in a sport-based environment where things are running at high speed and injuries are going to happen. So 0.27% is a pretty low percentage, Peter, I have to say. And then when we come to those that have a level of injury that requires euthanasia, we're talking 0.03%. So 0.03% of 30,000 starters have that unfortunate thing happen to them. So it's easy to put the spotlight on things and say, Cannington, we've only got 2 tracks here at the moment, and one has to be better than the other. That's just, one's going to go a bit better than the other. And you've only got 2, you're comparing a very small sample size. And these arguments about Cannington track, I kind of look at it a bit like this, that we know there's a lot more accidents happen on Kwinana Freeway than happen out the front of my humble little road out the front full of potholes. That doesn't make the road out the front of my place safer than Kwinana Freeway. So we just got to put in perspective the volume of racing that goes here. It's terrible. We don't want any greyhound to be injured. Nobody wants that. But we just got to hold these things in perspective, because when you've got 30,000 starters going down a track, there's going to be some level of injury. That's the same as kids' sports and any other sort of sport that's played.
The 2.7% is every injury, from a little injury that goes to the vet and the trainer's report. So every one of those minor injuries go into that 2.7%.
Yeah, look, the 0.27%, they're the serious ones, so the 60 to 90 days. 89% of the others, as I said before, were the non-serious, if I can call it that. I mean, nobody wants a greyhound to be injured. So when we say non-serious, it's just a way of describing a category. It's not to say they're not. Every injury is serious. The trainer doesn't want their dog to be injured. We don't want their dog to be injured. The public don't want their dog to be injured. We do a lot to try and make sure that doesn't happen.
So the stats of saying that Cannington is the most dangerous track for injuries in Australia is incorrect because of the fact that we're racing there, and last year we raced there 5 times a week compared to tracks on the East Coast that are racing once or twice. Yeah,
I think when you look at injury rates of tracks, you've got to look at the volume, and you've got to look at it over a period of time, because you'll have some injuries for a period, then you'll have none, and over the course of 12 months. We track our statistics, compare them nationally, and we are within national averages of statistics. Now, we're not happy with that. When I say that, we've invested in Mandurah to try and lower that even further. There's plans afoot for works to be done at Cannington. So even though they're very low, that doesn't mean we don't do things. We're still doing things to make them lower.
You mentioned last week also about the fact that the greyhounds that go to the track, and this is from within the industry, that some people might think that there's more injuries at Cannington. The amount of greyhounds that are racing, so the 30,000, the small minority, from an integrity point of view, the stewards believe that the track is safe.
Yeah, look, we inspect the track. We take readings of it. We've got a lot, old-dated inspections. When I used to walk the track, you walked it and that was your inspection. Now you've got a bit more science behind it in terms of readings that WAGRA provide us with. We know the track is the same one night to the next. And as I said to the staff the other day when we were discussing the matter here, because everybody here is seeing it and feeling it and upset by it, we know it's not just the track, because we have 90 dogs race of one of these nights where we had a very serious injury happen and only one was injured. So if the track was so bad as to take a healthy greyhound and cause that level of injury, well, we would expect to see more than one of the nights. So we know there's a lot of factors that cause injuries, and it can't all be pinned down to the track.
How are your staff going? We see, obviously, the welfare of the animal is the most important, but also the welfare of the people that work within the industry. So you've got the stewards, you've got the vets, you've got the track staff that are seeing this on, when they go to work. And also the fact that, as you mentioned, you're sitting at home watching the news, seeing our industry being put down with untruths. So how are they feeling at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's not pleasant. I've been in it 30 years, and even in all of that time, if I'm ever at a race meeting and an animal suffers some sort of an injury, it's distressing for everyone. And, there's people who stand outside the front of gates and want to be the most distressed. They're not the ones dealing with the situation inside the gates. It's upsetting for the staff. None of us want to see this. We've got vet assistants, veterinarians, club people. Nobody likes to see an animal injured, whether it's serious or minor.
Do you think greyhound racing is safer now than when you first started working within greyhound racing?
Oh, unquestionably safer now than what it was when I started racing. What we've learnt about track preparations, the effort that goes in them, the equipment that's now used, as I say, in 30 years when I started to what it is now, you wouldn't recognise the sport anymore.
You shared a story, and I'm not sure if you want to do it on air, with the staff last week in regards to your children and playing sport in comparison to the word that Auntie's put out there that we force, so the trainers force their greyhounds to race.
Yeah, I hope my daughter's not listening, because I used her as a bit of an example, Ebony. Look, it's a personal choice matter in what we do in life at the end of the day, and I don't think my choices need necessarily a right or wrong or should become the choices of other people either. But I use the analogy of sort of kids' sports that, and with my daughter in particular, is not very sporting inclined, where we decided it'd be good for her to play sports, because she otherwise would have spent the whole time sitting in front of a screen playing games, because that's what she enjoyed and she was good at. So she took up netball. She wasn't very good at netball. She didn't like going to netball. And I'd say I'd forced her to go to netball, because if she had the choice, she wouldn't have left the lounge room. So on a cold winter's day, she was running around out there doing her best. And occasionally she got injured. She broke a couple of fingers and things, and then she really hated netball. And so I didn't think I was being cruel or barbaric, as people like to poke towards the racing industry, by putting her out there. It was something I thought was good to do. We did the same with our son. He played football. He suffered maybe the odd concussion. He broke a collarbone at least once that I can remember now. And again, we didn't think as parents we were being cruel or barbaric putting him out there to play sport.
And you foster greyhounds and have greyhounds as pets yourself, and you would have seen recently how they love to run, and in the hot weather, do they like to stay inside, or did your dog want to take you outside?
Yeah, well, as I said, the example the other day that you were referring to, we've had a greyhound for a lot of years now. We're fostering at the moment, and we've been sort of dodging the heat waves with races. But when I take the dog out for a toilet, in the morning, through the day, it's about 40 degrees, and he just goes berserk and zooms around the yard and gets his toy and wants me to throw it. And I'm not forcing him to be out there. He's forced me to leave the lounge room because that's where I wanted to be.
It's an interesting time, isn't it, for WA greyhound racing at the moment, and probably greyhound racing throughout Australia with a lot of negative aspects. How's RWWA challenging this, and do they answer calls to the minister that the Canning, the president or the CEO of the Canning Shire has made?
Yeah, look, we do. We provide information, and we put fact and perspective to the situation. So we do our best to do that.
Thanks for coming in this morning, sharing that information. I think it's important that we put out for the racing industry the actual correct facts that are being made to look very negative at the moment, which they aren't as negative as what they should be. So I appreciate you coming in, and to your staff who are doing a wonderful job on the coal front with the industry at the moment. Keep up the good work.
Thanks very much, Peter. Thanks.
Good on you. Denis Borovica, Chief Steward of Integrity here at Racing Western Australia, and great to have him on board. And it certainly is an interesting time for the WA greyhound industry at the moment. Let's turn our attention across to a more positive thought here, and that is the fact that we have got a star in Western Australia. He might not be racing, but he's a star as a sire, because in his first year, Tommy Shelby, his progeny won $1 million on the racetrack. In the first 2 months, and we haven't finished February, the first 2 months of 2024, Tommy Shelby's progeny have now gone past $1 million in stake money for this year alone. Steve Withers is joining us. He must be very happy as the mentor of Tommy Shelby, and he joins us online this morning. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Pete. How are you?
Yeah, good. You must be wrapped with what Tommy Shelby did in his first year as a sire, and now the way his progeny are going, headed up by Morton, who's going to be running for Tab Touch in the Sandgroper in a couple of months' time. You must be wrapped with the way his progeny are going.
The whole journey with Tommy is a pinch-yourself moment, right back from when he first started racing. And, you could never have dreamed or imagined anything that has happened through his career, let alone coming into the stud duty style and producing puppies that dominate our personal kennel. We having all our own stud dogs that race for us now.
Can you explain to us the excitement he won 3 Group 1s, the excitement of winning those compared to when you see his progeny win Group 1s, and we saw that with Morton a few weeks ago up in Queensland?
Yeah, look, it's very similar. We're a very small operation and very, very close with all our dogs, and I don't know, it feels like a lot of these dogs that race, we're emotionally connected to them. You feel like you're part of them. Yeah, it's very proud. It's amazing to see Tommy sitting there on the couch or cuddling up to us in bed, and he's got puppies out there racing at the highest level. It's really humbling. And
it's remarkable as well. Like, we see David Hobby dominating WA greyhound training ranks at the moment, especially with the younger dogs. But we're seeing Tommy Shelby's progeny dominating as well. I called a race at Cannington last Wednesday where he had the first 3 or 4 across the line.
Yeah, look, he's been given a fantastic opportunity, which is the key to everything in racing. Even if you've got ability, you still need opportunity to be able to run. But as a stud dog, he's been given an amazing opportunity, and he's proven himself worthy of it. And they're a great animal. His offspring are really nice dogs to work with, and they're keen to be out there doing their thing. And they've got ability to match it.
He had 3 winners there on Saturday night. Wise Barrow was one of those, and 2 of them in your care, Bo Cruz and also Care Factor. You must be wrapped with Bo Cruz and his run there the other night. He had to overcome some trouble, and it's great to see some of the racing industry involved with Bo Cruz as owners.
Yeah, he's been a great journey, Bo Cruz. He's a lovely dog. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. He loves life. He loves his job. He enjoys being out there running and racing so much. And yeah, he chased Super the other night. He changed from Mandurah to Cannington. He didn't quite get the start right like he usually does, but he thought his way through the race like his dad used to, and chased really hard. And yeah, it's really fun to switch codes. We have some small shares in horses, and it's great to get out to the horses as an owner in a social capacity, and you really get back to enjoying racing. And the feeling's mutual from the racing. Mitch and Holly switching back into the dogs, and they have a great time, and we really enjoy having them along. They put a lot of enthusiasm back into what we do.
Can you explain that, the smartness of what he does? And his father did it, and I explain this to people, that he wasn't the quickest greyhound around Cannington, but he was certainly the smartest greyhound that I've ever called. The other night, Bo Cruz, he slightly missed the start, but he made the right choice to go underneath the dog when Sunset Mirage had to go around.
Yeah, look, there's fast dogs and then there's smart dogs, and sometimes you get really lucky and you get a smart dog that's also fast. And it's just the decision-making in under pressure and in peripheral vision, I suppose, in moving targets. Some people have it and some people don't, and some dogs do. So to sort of see gaps unfolding before they happen and think their way under and around, it's a really committed sort of chasing style of dog.
He will go towards, I presume, obviously they've got the Canning Trophy, the Keith Harding Canning Trophy final on Saturday, but he goes towards the Perth Cup after that?
Well, he'll go towards the series, the Perth Cup series. Obviously, the Perth Cup's the major item, and that's the Group 1, and some great dogs will be there. But it's a really good series altogether in the consolations for the seconds and the thirds, and they're really nice races to aim towards. So, yeah, you go in the heats and hope you get an opportunity in one of the consolations, which are great targets.
And another of his sons who didn't win there on Saturday, but certainly racing very well, is Uncle Tommy, and you must be excited going into the Perth Cup series with him as well.
Yeah, look, he's done a fantastic job. He probably didn't quite have the strength of a couple of the others in the litter early days, so we give him his time and let him mature and develop as a 400-metre dog. And as he's got a little bit older, he's found a couple of extra yards of strength, and he's doing a great job over the 500 metres. So while he's going well there and he's enjoying it and doing a good job, he'll stay there and continue. And
what about care factor? Is he too young at this stage to go towards a Galaxy series?
No, he's out of the same litter. He's a brother to Uncle Tommy and Kanan Stark, so he's the right age. Just had a couple of hold-ups earlier in his education and his pre-education, so he was a few months behind them coming through the system. But starting to work it out now, maturing and learning what it's all about. And he was great on Saturday night, but possibly not a race for him at that level at this stage of year.
All right. So it is an exciting time for WA Greyhound Racing. I appreciate your time this morning. And just before I let you go, can you explain to us the interest in Tommy Shelby from 12 months ago, or probably 18 months ago, when he first went into becoming a sire in that first year, to his the interest level now from owners of bitches? What is it like? Are you still getting plenty of calls?
Yeah, it's probably escalated a little bit. I suppose when you first go to stud, there's been hundreds of very talented dogs go to stud before us. And just because you're a great race dog doesn't always mean that you're going to be a great producer and it's going to throw on into your future generations. But so the first year was more opportunistic and just getting chances out there. But once he sort of got that first crop that had been started racing at the beginning of last year, and he's proven himself as a consistent producer of quality dogs, the interest and patronage is certainly held strong, if not escalated up a fair bit.
Will he get to the track on Saturday night, make a comeback to the track and get to see his son Morton, who I believe will be trialling prior to the meeting starting?
He hasn't been to the track for a fair while. He might get a little bit too excited, but nothing's been spoken about, but I'm sure that they'll spend some quality time together and have a chat away from the bright lights and touch base with each other, yeah.
Good luck with your team over the Perth Cup Carnival, which is fast approaching. It's only a few weeks away, Steve. You've got a really smart team that is flying at the moment. And also congratulations and keep up the good work with Tommy Shelby. We love seeing his progeny winning around Australia.
Yeah, you and me both, Pete. Thanks for your time.
Good on you. Steve Withers joining us as we wrap up Greyhound Gossip. Stay tuned to TAB Radio Racing and Sport. Coming up later on today, we have harness racing from Pinjarra, local greyhound racing from Cannington. And after this break, Tim Walker will be back with an all-new harness show to promote harness racing here in Western Australia. It is called Off and Pacing.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.